Hey, folks, it's Astronomy Talk number 3. I've been doing this now for a couple of weeks and realized I left something out that probably should be acknowledged. I'm not a curmudgeon when it comes to technology, and when I introduced the planisphere, there is a digital version of a planisphere. It's probably even better in some ways, depending on what your preference is. But it's called Skyview, and it's an app that you can buy for your phone. And all you have to do is point it towards the sky and orient it correctly, and you can actually pull up on the screen what the object is that you're looking at. So if you're ever curious, oh, what is that bright thing over there? Oftentimes it's a planet, if it's one of the brighter things in the sky, but sometimes it can just be a bright star. And so you'd want to know, what is that thing? In these online apps, or these apps that you can buy for your phone, will show you exactly what it is, and some of them will even pull up some data on it, or you can, once you identify the object, you can Google it and find out more about what is this thing, what does it do, what how did it form. All of those kind of things are become a question for the inquiring mind, right? So I don't want to, and of course, I'm using technology to bring these ideas and my appreciation for astronomy to the people that are my Facebook friends. Uh, so to get into it a little bit further, there's a couple of other thoughts that went through my mind over the past couple of days on the basics of astronomy. And I mentioned joining Aldrich Astronomical Society is the one closest to us. But if you're seeing this and you're in another state or another area other than central Massachusetts, you'll want to look up what is the Astronomical Society in your area. And they have meetings. They exist to teach the night sky to everyone, and they don't discriminate in any way. So, whatever your interest is, there's likely somebody in that club that also has the same interest, or has enough of more of a understanding of it than you do, that it would be very beneficial to join that group. So that's another aspect of astronomy that I think can go unnoticed. There's a lot of people out there already that are doing this just for the pure love of it, and that's another thing that will make you step back and think. Okay, yeah, there's people that like it as much as I do, and maybe for a lot longer period of time, or their specialization, what they've decided to really pay attention to is similar and along the lines of what you are. For example, in our astronomy club, there's people that value astrophotography over other forms of astronomy. Visually observing is another subsection of people. There's some people that only want to observe visually. They don't want to record what they're seeing, and that's enough for them. I'm kind of in that category right now. I have taken a few photos, but I don't have the equipment or the resources at this point in time to start taking amazing photos like this one in the backdrop here. Uh, you're talking several $1,000s of equipment in order to be able to take a photo like that. And that's not something I'm really that interested in at the moment. Who knows? Maybe my interest will grow. The other subsections of astronomy that you can get into, some people want to observe only a certain type of object. Double stars, for example, is a subsection of astronomy. I don't know if you knew it, but more than half of the stars that we see, and we can only see them as one single star system, more than half of them are doubled up. In other words, there is a companion to that star that's going around that star in a common center of mass. And that's kind of enlightening because when we look up at the sky, we only see our sun and we imagine it's a single system, and it likely is, although there's some speculation that maybe there's something out there, a brown dwarf or a star that's really not that visible to the naked eye that may be interacting with our sun. But just like nature happens to be in the sky as well. So nature tends to pair things up. And there are star systems out there that have multiple systems. In other words, there might be a small companion. There might be 3 stars in a system that have a common center of mass. But that's another subsection of astronomy, that people want to observe just those objects, or they just want to observe planets, and they are not that interested in going beyond planetary observations. And so that's another. There's so many, things that you could specialize in within the subcategory of exploring the night sky. There's a lot of different objects up there. Some people only want to explore nebula. That's a star system that has reached a point in its evolution where it's exploded and there's a shell of gas that blew off into space several, could be millions of years ago. Most of them are not in recent times that you see. There's people that want to look at only globular clusters. There are a cluster of stars known to be the oldest stars in our universe and in our galaxy, and it's just a tightly grouped collection of stars that's termed a globular cluster. Some of them are very, very bright. So again, there's so many different kinds of objects that you could specialize in, or you could be a generalist, like I tend to be. I want to see all of the things. I wanted to, especially when you want to know what are my choices out there, and things that I can really observe with the instrument that I have and the telescopes and my abilities at excuse me, at the current time. So you might want to explore so many different aspects of the hobby of astronomy. Some people want to only build telescopes. There's a group in our astronomy association that is heavily involved in that. I've ground a couple of mirrors. I've built a couple of telescopes, and I enjoy that aspect of the hobby as well. But there's some people that, it's sort of anticlimactic to actually, once the telescope is built, to actually use it and look up. They get tired very easily of that aspect of astronomy. They just want to. They're builders. They want to perfect their craft in building telescopes, and certainly there's room for everyone who has some specialization within the hobby that is going to be their favorite part of the hobby. So I think I've kind of touched on a lot, and I haven't touched on all of them even. There are people that just enjoy the camaraderie of people that get together and view under the night sky. They don't have to have a telescope at all. They just want to look through everybody else's telescope. And I started off that way. And it's probably a good way to start, so that you have an idea of the type of things that you can see with any given amateur class telescope. And then you'll get invited eventually, as I did, to different observatories that have telescopes, and what can I see through those telescopes, and what kinds of things have they published that I can look at, in photos and print. A lot of these observatories are trying to raise money to stay in existence so that they can continue to do research on certain things. So they might sell their portraits or their photos of the research they've done, and some of it is free. If it's a university based system, then oftentimes the tuition, people that are paying tuition to go to that university, uh, funds the astronomy area in the observatory, so their photos are not. There's no charge. NASA is another one that NASA's astronomy picture of the day is a thing you can look up on the internet, and every day NASA posts a photo of some part of the night sky, and those are very interesting because they come with a brief description of what it is you're seeing and what type of instrument took that photo, if you understand me. So there's before you ever even own a telescope or even a pair of binoculars, there's ways that you can say, listen, I don't want to own any instrument at this point in time. I just want to kind of see what my options are. And there's observatories almost at every university today, a lot of them anyway, especially the ones that offer some form of a science degree. They're going to have an element of that university that is physics and astrophysics. The study of astrophysics is another section of the physics department. I went to an engineering school, and the engineering school has a subsection of them that is astrophysics. So not everybody has to own a telescope or even any instrument to enjoy an aspect of astronomy that's readily available to anyone out there. You really never have to own a telescope if you don't choose to. I happen to enjoy the telescopes I have because I can take them out at any time, and I live in New England, so the any time is not very often where first of all, a number of things have to come together in order to park that instrument outside and have it be a very fruitful observing session. The sky has to be just right. The weather has to be just right. It's never going to be perfect. It's going to be too cold sometimes, and you're going to be feeling as though you're freezing out there. But it's still worth it. You dress warmly enough to get out there. And I've been out when, oddly enough, some of the most clear and perfect observing nights are when it's just frigidly cold out. Something about the cold drives away all of the things in the atmosphere that can influence what you're able to see on a given night. So if you can brave the cold, those are some of the better times to be outside with a telescope or observing the night sky in particular. So you'll want to dress warm because there's really some diamonds in the rough of bad weather. When I say bad, meaning cold, but obviously clear. So you aren't going to be doing too much observing when, even if the clouds are wispy or intermittent, you're going to be pretty frustrated to be outside and try to enjoy seeing a number of things when the clouds are even partly cloudy sky where they're passing in front of the object that you're hoping to view that evening. So again, that's another reason why you'll want to know, want to have a better understanding of all of the things that are out there for me to observe, because sometimes the clouds are only in one section of the sky, but the other part of the sky is free and clear for me to set the telescope up and point it there. So you'll certainly, at times run into a situation where the clouds are only in a certain section of the sky. So I'm going to end this here. It looks like we're getting to about 15 minutes, and that's about what I'm going to try to keep these talks at. And we'll see you at the next time. Thank you.